remainder and factor theorem. Let's say we have been given a function f of x, which is, I can give just something random. Let's say x to the power 3 minus x, let's say minus 10x, and then plus 10. Okay, let's say we have got this function. Now, if I am to say that a certain factor, okay, a certain divisor is a factor, then the remainder should give me 0. That is what we call the remainder, the factor theorem. The factor theorem just tells us that, let's say this is a function, right? Now we say divide f of x, divide it by x minus 1. Okay, we want to divide f of x by x minus 1. How do you divide? There are two methods of division. You can use long division, or you can use synthetic division. I'll talk about both. Let me start with the synthetic division. So if the question is saying this function divided by x, let me start with x plus 2. We want to divide this function by x plus 2. Just like when you have got 10, you divide by a 3. What will be the answer? The answer is a 3. Okay, and then what will be the remainder? The remainder is going to be 1 divided by the same thing that you are dividing with. Same way with a function. When you have got this function f of x, and then you divide it by what we call the divisor d, you are going to get, this is called the quotient. That value that you get is called the quotient. And then plus the remainder, you write it on top, and then divided by the divisor. This is the general form that you write when you get to divide something. Quotient plus remainder divided by the divisor. That's a general form. So let's divide this by x plus 2. What are we going to do? Let me start with the synthetic method. So I'm going to write this as, I'll equate it to 0. Just equate it to 0, and then you're going to find that x is equal to negative 2. Equate it to 0, okay? And then I'm going to write this. I'll write this. I'll get the coefficients of this polynomial here. What's the coefficient of x power 3?
1.
Very good. And then of x power 2?
Negative 1.
Very good. And then of x? Negative 10. Very good. And then we write 10. Okay, thank you. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is just to put a 0 down here. The 1 on top, I'll add to the 0 down. That will give me 1. This one I find, I multiply with the negative 2. That will give me negative 2. And then negative 1 on top, I'll add with the negative 2. That will give me negative 3. Then negative 3 times the negative 2, which is outside here, again, that will give me a positive 6. Negative 10 plus 6, that's negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 2 still, that will give us 8. And then 10 plus 8, that will give us 18. So this thing that you're able to see here is the remainder at the end. Now this one, the first number you have found is a coefficient of x squared, the next is a coefficient of x, and then the next is a constant. Yes, Piri?
Can you do multiplication again? We're a bit behind.
Okay, the answer that you get down here, you always multiply with this thing which is outside. So negative 4 times negative 2, that gives you 8. And then now you add these two, that will give you the one which is down here. Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, so meaning that when I get f of x, which is x power 3 minus x power 2 minus 10x plus 10. I divide it. What was I dividing with? By x plus 2. What will be my quotient? The quotient is the answer you get. So this will be the answer you get. Okay, that will be the answer. That's what we call the quotient. Now I've said this is the coefficient of x power 2. This is the coefficient of x. So the answer is x squared minus the 3x minus 4. And then plus, what will be the remainder? The remainder is 18 over, what was the divisor? It was x plus 2. So this is how we're able to write this. Now because you can see that the remainder here is not 0. The remainder is not 0. Now sorry you can't see. Okay. Now I'm going to pause because it was slow. Is someone left out behind somewhere? Okay, so basically what we are saying is, remember we are dividing this by this. So that is what you are able to see here. Now, the answer you get after you divide will be this one. Where does it come from? It is just coming from this thing that you get here. This is the answer. Okay? And then plus, you always add the remainder. The remainder is this one. Divided by the same thing you are dividing with. Just like if I say 10 divided by 3, I'm going to say the answer is what? The answer is 3, remainder 1, over the same 3 I was dividing with, isn't it? So same, if I say this one into this, the answer is this, and then the remainder is 18 divided by the same thing I was dividing with. That is how you get to express it. Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay.
This is using the synthetic method. We can also use long division. So using long division, we'll do this. The thing that you want to divide with, you write here x plus 2. And then the one you are dividing into, you write inside x to the power 3 minus x to the power 2 minus 10x plus 10. Now here you only use x. Don't use these two, alright? You just use the x. So you say x into x power 3. What will be the answer? X squared. Good. And then this x squared I'll multiply with this. So x squared times x, that will give me x power 3. X times x squared times 2, that will give me 2x squared. Okay? From there I'll write a line and then subtract. You've seen I've written this in brackets. X cubed minus x cubed, that will be 0. Negative x squared minus 2x squared, that will give us what? Negative x squared minus 2x squared. Negative what? Negative 3x squared.
X squared, positive x.
Have you followed what I've said? Look, you've gotten it now?
Yes,
Good.
I've seen it.
Okay, good. And then I'm going to bring down now the negative 10x. Okay? And then I'll again say this x into negative 3x squared. What will be the answer? What will be the answer? Very good. Negative 3x. So that negative 3x again multiply with this. What are we going to get if we multiply? Yes?
Minus 6x.
Minus 6. Thank you. And then again here we are going to subtract. Negative 3x squared minus negative 3x is 0. Negative 10x minus negative 6x is a negative 4x. Pay attention, negative 10x minus negative 6x is what? Negative 4x. And then drop the 10, which is at the end here. Drop it, positive 10. And then again you say this x into negative 4x, that will be negative 4. Again multiply negative 4 times x plus 2, negative 4x minus 8. And then subtract again, negative 4x minus x, that is 0. 10 minus negative 8, that is positive 18. This thing you are able to see down here is the remainder. This thing that you're able to see on top here is the quotient. Are you able to confirm that it is the same thing when you use both methods?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you can use any. Now, this is called the remainder theorem. Okay, now you can actually take note, we found that the remainder is 18 using these two methods. Now, using the remainder theorem, we can find the remainder direct. We can find the remainder direct. And how do you find? So, remainder is equal to f of a. That is how you find the remainder. So if I wanted to find the remainder in here, just equate this to 0 and find the value of x. So x is equal to negative 2. So just get negative 2, substitute in this function. That's the meaning of f of a. So that will be negative 2 to the power 3 minus negative 2 to the power 2 minus 10, negative 2 plus 10. So this will give you remainder being negative 2 to the power 3, that will be negative 8, minus negative 2 squared is a 4, negative 10 times negative 2, that is a positive 20, and then plus a 10. So the remainder therefore is going to be negative 8 minus 4, that's negative 12, right? This is a 30. What is negative 12 plus 30? 18. So you can still confirm the remainder is 18. We have used the three methods. So using this is what we call the remainder theorem. Now, when you use the remainder theorem and then you find that the remainder is 0, just know that that thing you used is a factor for that function. Let's say now I am using x minus 2. X minus 1. I want to find out if x minus 1 is a factor for this function or not. So what do? You are going to say remainder should be equal to f of a. If I find the remainder to be 0, then this is a factor. If not, then it is not. So equate it to 0, I'm going to find that x is equal to 1. So remainder then is going to be 1 to the power 3 minus 1 to the power 2 minus 10 multiplied by 1 plus 10. This will give us remainder being equal to 1 minus 1 to the power 3 is 1, 1 to the power 2 is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, isn't it? And then negative 10 plus 10 is still 0, meaning that the remainder here is what? 0. What does this tell us? This tells us that x minus 1 is a factor for this polynomial. It is a factor, meaning that I can factorize this polynomial using this one. Since I already know one factor, I can use the synthetic method or long division, but basically synthetic method is much easier. So we found that x is equal to 1, and then we write like this. I'll write the coefficients of this polynomial. Coefficient of x power 3 is 1, power 2 is negative 1, x is negative 10, and then positive 10. I'll put a 0 down here. 1 plus 0 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Negative 1 plus 1 is a 0. 0 times 1 is a 0. Negative 10 plus 0 is a negative 10. Negative 10 times 1 is a negative 10. 10 plus negative 10 is a 0. We can also confirm that the remainder is 0. Meaning that if I want to factorize f of x, Remember already the first factor was x minus 1. And then from what we have done here, we know that this is a coefficient of x squared, this is the coefficient of x, and then this is a constant. This tells us that the other factor is x squared. Now I can't say plus 0x, meaning that this one is not just there. So I'll just x squared minus 10. This is the other factor. And we know we can't factorize this one. So meaning that when we reach at this point, we have already factorized completely. We can't exceed this step. So this is basically the remainder and factor theorem. Now you are going to be asked, just using these same principles here, they'll give you a different number of questions for you to be able to apply. Do you have questions before I give just an example? Okay, let's say we have got f of x, which is equal to ax power 3 plus x squared minus bx plus 1. Now, we are told that x minus 1 is a factor for this polynomial, and then when you divide it by x minus 2, the remainder is going to be, let's say, 1. We now want to find the value of a and b for this function. Remember, x minus 1 is a factor. When you divide this function by x minus 1, we are saying x minus 1 is a factor. You should be able to know the remainder when we say it's a factor. And then when we divide it by x minus 2, the remainder is 1. What will be the value of a and b? Let's start. Since we are saying when we divide by x minus 1, it is a factor. What do you think? When you divide, what is the remainder? What is the remainder when you divide, since we are saying it's a factor?
It's 0.
It's 0. Okay? So we are going to say remainder is equal to f of a. And we know that for this one, the remainder is 0. We are going to say is equal to, now our a remainder x is equal to 1 if we equate to 0, right? So we'll put, this will be a, where there is x, we put 1 to the power 3, and then plus 1 to the power 2, minus b multiplied by 1 plus 1. So this will be 0 is equal to, we know 1 to the power 3 is still 1, times a is a. And then I'll write first this b. I want to first write letters. And then 1 squared is a 1. 1 plus 1, that is a 2, right? So I'll write this as an equation. I can take these 2 to the other side such that I make a sub to the formula. So if b goes the other side, it becomes positive. A goes the other side, becomes negative. 2 goes the other side, becomes negative. So this will be equation 1. And then when we use this one, we again say remainder is equal to f of a. But for that one, the remainder is 1. And then when we equate x to 0, we are going to find 2. X, not x, but x minus 2 to 0. Okay. And then we put now, also where there is x, we are going to put 2. That will be a 2 to the power 3 plus 2 to the power 2 minus b multiplied by 2 plus 1. So this will be 1 is equal to 2 to the power 3 is 8. 8 times a is 8a. And then plus 4 minus 2b plus 1. Basically, this one and this one, if they go to the same side, they'll cancel. Okay? So what we are going to remain with is 0 is equal to 8a plus 4 minus 2b. What I'll do from here is I can take this to the other side. So I'm going to remain with 8a being equal to, if we take 2b, the other side becomes positive 2b, and then 4 becomes negative. This will be equation 2. Now we know that a is equal to b minus 2. So in the second equation where there is a, I'll put b minus 2. So this will be 8 b minus 2 is equal to 2b minus 4, which will give us 8b minus 16 is equal to 2b minus 4. Take like terms to the same side. I'll take 8b this side to become negative, 2b to become negative. So it will be 8b minus 2b, which is 6b. And that will be equal to, I'll take 16 the other side, so it will become positive. So 16 minus 4, that is a 12. And then we'll divide both sides by 6. That will give us a 2 as a value for b. To find a, we can use any one of these. I'll use this one. We know that a is equal to b minus 2. So then a is going to be b is 2 minus 2. Then a is equal to 0.